that standing in front of the camera. I think you're gonna have to get him down.
Yeah.
He's not gonna go on his own accord.
I doubt it. I'm just positioning myself so he'll know how to handle his stuff. He's focusing in on me, so
All right.
good. All right. As soon as he grabs his plate, I'll be ready.
Should I get a shot of everybody in the room?
You could, but everybody's eating now. You might want to wait.
No, that'll get people to come. You know,
Oh yeah, sure.
they gonna go.
Oh, y'all eat at these meetings. Okay, I'll be there. I ain't missing the next one.
That's right.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, I want to welcome everyone to our monthly SIP meeting, Southside Investor Partnership meeting. I want to try to get a few housekeeping things out of the way first. If you can either silence or mute your phones while our presenters are speaking, and kind of write your questions down, and we'll have a Q&A once they've completed their presentation. And lastly, the washrooms are right outside to your left in case you have to go. But in the meantime, feel free to walk back to the table for your refreshments and snacks. I don't think my guests will be offended by that because I'm going to be doing the same. But I want to try to, well, what we do here, I want to try to explain what our purpose is here. As the other administrator explained, that our main focus here is to try to network and educate each one of us in the real estate investment opportunities that exist here on the South Side. And we share our resources and our professional skills with one another. And that's what I love about this group, is because we share. The ones here are passionate investors. We're not talkers, we're doers here. And when I look around the room at the ones that I see here, we have over close to $2 million in assets amongst the people that are in this group, in this room. Over $2 million between the equity of the buildings that we own or control. So as I get started, or as we get started, I want to introduce the two of my power team members. Ms. Gina Diaz and Desiree Wilson.
Thank you, Keith. Can you guys hear me? Because I think I'm being really loud, but a lot of times people are saying that I'm not. So in my brain, I'm being really loud.
I can help you out.
Oh, perfect. Maybe that'll, is that better? Wait, he's putting it up. Now, good? Okay. So, thank you guys for having me here. Thank you to Keith for inviting me. My name is Gina Diaz. First of all, I want to apologize because I was supposed to be here in December, but I had very sick kids at home, so unfortunately I wasn't able to make it. But I'm glad that I'm here today. I am a real estate investor and a real estate attorney. I met Keith through Andrew Holmes' 3-day. I know some people are from that group here. And then I'll tell you guys about it afterwards, and I have like a special discount if any of you want to go. When I met Keith, I know he was like early starting to like kind of, want to do wholesales and whatnot, and now he's like killing it. He's like, he keeps me busy. So I want to give Keith a round of applause because, from when I met him to where he is now, that's freaking amazing.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a little bit about me. So I started real estate when I was studying for the bar. So I had just graduated law school, and I needed to have some kind of income while I was studying for the bar because it's impossible to work and study for the bar at the same time. And a friend of mine said, hey, why don't you become a real estate agent? And I was like, yeah, I have zero desire to go show people houses and stuff like that. And then when she told me about the commissions and how like you could, make money if you just sell one, I'm like, oh, well, 2 sales and I'll be fine for the summer, that'll kind of help me. So then I became a real estate agent, and my husband, boyfriend at the time, he also wanted to get into real estate. He was already doing some real estate investing. So I said, hey, let's take this real estate class, do it together. Became a realtor, sold 2 houses during that time that kept me afloat while I, passed the bar and got licensed. And then I started actually being a real estate attorney with traditional buy and sells. And my husband was also a realtor, so then the market crashed. So obviously real estate kind of like really slowed down. But then there was this thing called loan modifications, right? That kind of was like a big business at the time. And a company approached me and said, hey, why don't you help us doing loan modifications? You could be the attorney, because at that time, if you were not an attorney, you couldn't get paid for loan modifications ahead of time. And so I did it, and then I learned how to do loan modifications, which then also taught me how to do short sales and how to do foreclosure defense. So then I kind of like opened up my own practice and made a lot of money doing foreclosure defense and helping people with loan modifications and short sales. And I say that because I was handling anywhere from like 100 files, new files a month of foreclosures.
Wow.
And then, it was great, it was, just kept coming in. But had I known then what I know now, I would have made so much more money with wholesaling and buying and I didn't know none of that, right? I just represented people that would buy the properties on a short sale. And got, my attorney fee and my title fee or whatever. So, but it just shows like if you don't know what you don't know, right? Like a lot of times people think, oh, they're an attorney, they got it. No, we don't. Like unless you do it, consistently, you don't. And I say that because there's a lot of attorneys out there that are real estate attorneys, but they're not investor attorneys. You kind of have to know the investor game to be able to really help an investor. I myself became an investor. Well, I thought I was an investor previous to coming to Andrew Holmes' 3-Day, which was 5 years ago. I had bought my building where my office is at now. It took me about 6 years of savings to be able to buy that building. I put down $100,000 as my down payment, and I bought the building. And I was like, oh my God, I'm on top of the world now. Like another 5 years, I'll save another 100 and then get another investment property, right? Because that's the way you do it, right? I didn't know that you could use other people's money. I didn't know that there's private lenders. I didn't know what wholesaling was. I had no clue. So a friend of mine invites me to the 3-Day. I go to the 3-Day and I hear Andrew talking about wholesaling, and my legal brain is like, oh my God, what he's telling people to do is illegal. Like you can't, what do you mean you're gonna wholesale a contract? What do you mean you're gonna sign it? Like you're basically acting as a realtor without a license, that's illegal, blah, blah, blah. That's how I was thinking, right? So, and I say that because if an attorney doesn't do this, if they don't know what wholesaling is, if they don't know what a double close is, if they don't know what a triple close is, that's the way they're gonna think. Just because they're real estate attorneys doesn't mean they understand the game. And I've had a lot of deals where the attorneys on the other side are not investors, they're not investor attorneys, and when we say, no, this is an assignment, they're like, what do you mean? And then they advise their client, no, they're doing something illegal, and the deal can literally die. So I always say when an investor's deal dies, 99% of the time, there's an attorney on the other end that stuck their nose where it doesn't belong. And I've always had to fight with them and be like, you're not the realtor, you're not their advisor, you're their attorney. Do your job and leave the whole, like, what the ARV of this property could be to them. It's not your fucking job, like, it's not, and they'll be like, well, this property, if you just, sell it with the realtor, you can make more money out of it. I'm like, who the fuck asked you? Like, your job is to, like, respond to my attorney review letter, not to advise them on ARV, all this other stuff. So it's really, really important that you choose the right attorney that, can actually make these deals happen for you, because attorneys can so kill the deal if they don't know what they're doing. So, after, like, going home after that first 3 day on Friday, Desiree was speaking at that event, and talking about, wholesaling and whatnot. And I'm like, yeah, that to me, that just seems illegal. I go and I research it, right? And it's like someone took, like, these blinders off my, my face, because I was like, oh my God, this is completely illegal. And at that time, there wasn't that law that you had to be a realtor to do more than 2 at a time. At that time, it would, that didn't exist. And then I thought back, it's like the past 10 years flashing before my eyes of how many wholesales I could have done with the amount of files that used to come through my office for foreclosure defense. And I was like, oh my God, like, but you don't know what you don't know, and now I know. And so now, wholesaling, helping investors with wholesaling is like my favorite part of my job. Create a financing deal subject to, seller, for sale by owners, double closings, triple closings, quadruple closings. When I see a property that is going through 3 or 4 different wholesalers, by the time it gets to the end buyer, if I represent like the first wholesaler, it really makes me mad. Because I'm like, oh my God, why did you let go of all this money? That you're selling it to another wholesaler that's just gonna wholesale it. And the thing that makes me even more mad is when I represent the end buyer. Because I'm like, if you would have just told me, you have this property, can I find you a buyer? I would have just shut it out to my network. You would have made more money, get the other 2 wholesalers in between out, and I would have gave you that end buyer. And like, you would have made more money, So, Keith a lot of times has properties. He's like, do you know anyone that wants to buy it? I shoot it out to my list, and, hopefully we get a buyer, because I work with a lot of cash buyers because I belong to the Andrew Holmes Mastery Group. So I have access to a lot of cash buyers. So not only do I act as your attorney for legal purposes, but I also try, to help you, because I know if you walk away with a lot of money, you're gonna get more deals, so I'm gonna get more business. So, and being an investor, I have a portfolio of over 50 rentals right now. I've done lots of wholesales on my own, and I've done a lot of flips. I kind of understand a little bit about how investment works, and I can, help you when you're having a hard time trying to figure out how to structure it. A lot of times I'll call Desiree and I'll be like, hey, can we make this happen? Is this legal? Because at the end of the day, my job is to make sure that what you're doing is legal and that it's not gonna come back to you, because I don't want that to happen. So somehow Desiree figures out a way when we're like, yeah, I don't know how we can do it, and she'll be like, oh, let's do blah, blah, and I'm like, oh, that's a great idea, so then we make it happen, we find a way. So I always say, if there is a way to do it, we can help you do it. So that's not to say that there isn't, great attorneys out there that can do the same thing I can do, but I'm the right attorney. I'm working with Fidelity, which is one of the biggest title companies in the country. I mean, we've had people in like Japan do a closing that she's made it happen, because they're like, well, we can't close with my clients in Japan. We're like, yeah, we got you. We sent someone out there and we close. So working with one of the biggest title companies in the country is definitely a plus. And she gives my clients special pricing because I give them a lot of business. So, I can also help you with that. But if you're wholesaling, I'm going to help you structure it where you're not paying a penny. It's the end buyer that's going to pay it. So anytime that you guys have a deal like that, if you're trying to figure out how to structure it so that if your wholesale fee is $10,000, you walk away with $10,000. Let me know and I'll help you structure it. So it's not like, oh yeah, your wholesale fee was $10,000, but guess what? You said you were going to pay for this, this, and this. The end buyer didn't say, so now your $10,000 becomes $7,000. And, you know, as an investor, we work really hard to find these off-market deals. So you should walk away with what you're expecting to walk away. Because a lot of times I think people think they just land, you know, on your desk and you're like, okay, I'm gonna wholesale it, and you didn't do anything for it. We know there's a lot that goes into it before you actually lock in that deal. So help me help you. And Desiree, do you have anything to add to that? I talked too much, sorry.
The one key that I always like to tell everybody is the structure of the deal. Her contracts are great for wholesaling and for double escrow, because they point out everything like we were saying. I've seen so many times, like she said, where a wholesaler, we had one where a wholesaler actually had to almost pay money to actually close the deal. So we helped them out, and I had lowered more fees, and she helped out and lowered some fees too, just so that the person could get some money out of the deal, because they did work, and you know, the way that and they were being honorable to the seller and to each party, but it ended up causing an issue for them, which that's what we're here for, is that to look out for you guys. So you do want to definitely make sure your contracts are correct, what you're saying to the seller. We've had some people that were like from out of state and trying to come here and wholesale. Don't use anybody else's contracts from out of state.
Yeah,
If anybody's part of any kind of other
out-of-state
networkings or mentorships, because Illinois is totally separate from any other state. They're just different. Like even with the way that they pay taxes, that's because we had another one where Keith knows about that one. Somebody didn't know about the taxes, and just so it's just better to in the beginning to structure the deal appropriately.
I always say, if you think you're gonna wholesale it, you're not sure, you're like, I may keep it, but maybe not, I'll wholesale it. Let's get that contract right from the beginning, because although like I love arguing, sometimes with these attorneys, like they like really make the Jesus come out of me, and it's like, oh my God, and then I'm like, I get like really riled up, and then, words are exchanged, and then I have to work with them again. So I don't want to get them on my bad side. But I will if I have to, because at the end of the day, that's what I'm here for. But if we structure the contract correctly from the beginning, even if you're like, I think I'm going to keep it, but you have a very small possibility that you're going to wholesale it, let's get that contract just done correctly so that you can wholesale it, you can assign it, you can keep it, whatever you want to do with it. We're not going to have issues when the other side gets an attorney that doesn't know what they're doing. Because 9 out of 10 times that's the issue. If the attorney doesn't understand, we just closed a subject to on Friday, where the seller attorney and the end buyer attorney I represented the assigner. Neither of them knew how to do a subject to. Like the seller attorney tried to get me a mortgage and a note. Yeah. And I said, why are we recording a mortgage and a note? He's taking it subject to the existing mortgage. Right. Well, yeah, but how is my client going to be assured that he's going to get paid? I said, your client isn't going to get paid. He's paying the mortgage. Right. And she's like, yeah, but so she did a second mortgage. And I said, so now by doing this, you're basically saying my client's taking subject to the existing $200,000 mortgage, and you're going to record another $206,000 mortgage. That doesn't make sense. And I just called her. Yeah, and I was like, what did she do?
Which is totally another addition to creative.
Right. So I just called her and said, kind of explained it to her. And if they're nice to me, I'm gonna be nice back. And I helped her because she was very honest. She's like, honestly, I don't really understand. And I went through it and I helped her. I gave her my documents. I'm like, here, do this. And buyer, I'm like, this is what you need to advise your client on, and I just kind of helped them so we can close it. But a lot of times the attorneys want to act like they do know, and they just won't tell you, I just don't get it. And they want to sit here and argue, and I'm like, oh my God, so it's really important, because us as investors, we're here to make money, not to we're not Mother Teresa. At the end of the day, we have to make money, and that's what we're here for. So the deals get structured right, and if you have the right team on your side, then you're good.
Well, and I have an example about a subject to. The person, I think maybe the attorney that they had, he was the buyer. He bought a subject to property, never got any authorizations from the seller, and the seller stopped taking their phone calls. Whoa. So he goes to refinance, and he came to me to refinance, and we can't get a payoff. There's no authorization, because he never got an authorization to be the authorized person on that account that he took subject to. He didn't get any power of attorney, and power of attorney is not just the only thing you need to get. You should get more stuff, because power of attorneys are gone if the person passes away. So he pretty much would have been stuck and they were foreclosing on this mortgage.
Yeah.
So he would have paid all this money and then lost the whole deal.
Yeah.
So you have to be very particular with these kind of special,
Especially
creative-
those,
yeah.
creative financing deals, you have to really know what you're doing, because otherwise, you know, you could end up getting screwed at the end.
Because we have documentation that that says, hey, you know about the whole transaction, the title company is clear, you know, so then that's where Gina comes in to make sure that you sign correct documentation, so that then you can actually fix up the property, refinance it, or sell it, and be able to get a more, you know, the payoff for the mortgage, which is the whole reason why you're doing it.
And a lot of times when we do double closes, like we have one right now, my client got this property, didn't record a note or anything. So he's like, he agreed with the seller that he was gonna fix it and then flip it. And they agreed on a price, right? So they had a contract for, let's say, $100,000, right? And he put another $100,000 on it. So now he's selling it for $350,000. So, you know, he's gonna make a good profit. But when he got this contract with the seller, Desiree said, he didn't get any like power of attorney, nothing to be able to then, because they didn't record it, they didn't close on it. We're gonna do a double close now. So the end buyer's attorney's like, or no, the appraiser. The appraiser went to do the appraisal, and he's like, hey, how is this person involved? Because when I looked it up, it still belongs to the A, you know, the original seller. So because, you know, Fidelity, I work with them, they know me, they know we do clean deals, I asked her, can you change the title so it looks like my client actually bought it? So that, you know, the end buyer, they're doing regular financing, sees that my client is the owner. Because he's gonna be the owner when we double close him.
And we
But
do
he's
something
not the
called a
owner
pro
right now.
forma, which is totally
Legal.
and we do it, you know,
I was
it's
gonna
done all
ask
the
you
time.
that,
yeah.
It's called a pro forma, so it's saying that that's who's gonna be entitled.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because we're recording a deed at the
Yeah, because
So
we're
it's-
gonna double close it, right? But
Yeah.
this, my
called
client didn't
performing
wanna
vesting.
close it because he didn't have the money to close it at the time. So that's why he's doing a double close. So a lot of other title companies won't do that. Oh, they'll charge you extra for that. You know, I've had them when they're like, well, we'll do it, but you know, your client's gonna have to pay an extra $300,000.
It is, it's like $350 for a
Yeah,
pro forma
and
vesting.
they're like,
for a
for
pro
how many-
forma period, it's because it's literally giving a policy, it's a pro forma, like a prelim policy
Yeah.
of what will be.
But
You
you
know.
need that in order for the end buyer's lender to close. Without that, they're gonna want the contract to go directly from the A to the C, cutting out my client in the middle. So, you know, knowing things like that, you know, is what, you know, can help your deal either make it or break it. Because if an attorney didn't know that, they're gonna be like, you can't do this. You know, you have to have the contract directly with the seller. And then when the seller sees how much my client's making out of it,
Right.
and he's you know, my client's gonna make 150. The seller is only getting 100,000 minus their cost, because my client was smart enough to not pay for the cost. So they're gonna walk away with maybe 60, 70. My client's gonna walk away with 150. So if the seller was to see that, there's no way, you know, that he was just gonna freely give my client the 150. So
And we do
you have
still,
to-
in a double escrow closing, we still do disclose to each party, they have to sign documentation, just stating that, you know, that the other one is closing. So that's why I say everything is, I've never seen it kill a deal by signing this documentation. But it is, that's how we do all the double escrow closings. So it's just saying that there's no numbers, it just says that one is, you know, contingent on the other one closing, because it is. Because we need that deed in order to close the other one.
Yeah, and a lot of you guys that close with private money lenders, it's another thing that you have to really know how to work with them, because a lot of times private money lenders want certain things done a certain way. So when I control title, when, you know, Desiree's on it, she knows exactly what they want. She gives it to me, the client, the private money lender may be like, I need it by this date if you want to close by this date. When we don't control title, I could send it out and be like, Chicago Title, I need this, this, and that, and they'll be like, okay. They'll give it to me whenever they feel like it.
Really?
You know, Desiree, I'm like, it's a private money lender, I'll get it, even at midnight sometimes, but I'll get it that day, you know, and so she understands, because she works primarily with investors, you know, how the game is played
Well,
and
we know
why we need
there's
it.
a sense of urgency, where sometimes things are not always a sense of urgency everywhere else.
Or being able to close the same day. That's another thing. Most title companies will be like, well, I'm sorry, we're booked. She's like, yeah, we'll close it, even if it's at 6 p.m. at night or at 6 a.m. in the morning, we'll get it in and we'll close it, you know, because we have a location where we can always close. So that's why you should work with the right attorney and the right title company.
And just a little bit about myself, I used to be a mortgage banker back in 2004 through 2009. Then I went over to title, so I have been in title for about 12 years. So,
Yeah. And a lot of times we can even like help you with, I know we've had a couple of deals where it needed to have a transactional funder at the last
Oh, yeah.
minute. You know, and the client's like, I don't have, and she's like, I know transactional funder. She'll send an email, within 2 hours you got a transactional funder, we can still close the
and
deal.
it's good pricing, because I actually, it's actually very good pricing, because I've seen some transactional funders like other places, and wow, it's a lot, actually. I was surprised. So that's the thing too, is just knowing the different options, educating yourselves on the different, because otherwise then you will be paying transactional funders, like I've seen 2,500, which that's not what my transactional funders charge.
No.
Which I thought that was high.
Can you imagine paying $2,500 for 5 minutes?
We literally, they send their wire and then we send it right back out to them.
Yeah.
So,
Do you guys have any questions so far?
Yes, I do. You mentioned about the contracts that's subject to and versus wholesaling where you have an end buyer. What's the difference? Which ones do I know that I need? Like I have a lady right now that's in foreclosure and she wants to sell me the property to get her out the foreclosure. So I was thinking about subject to is the best way to go with that. So what contracts do I really need to do to get her to start the process?
Usually, there's no like subject to contract, there's a subject to addendum. So I always say get it under contract. That's, the number one thing, get it under contract. Then our contracts have like a notes section at the bottom, and that's where you put in the subject to terms. Once you do that, then it comes to me, then I prepare the proper work. I prepare the paperwork that they need, and then I send them the subject to addendum and all that stuff that you need in order to close it that way. And we do the FOIA, because that's another thing. We do a FOIA request the minute we get that file. We do a FOIA request right away. You might, do your own, but we also do one because a lot of times there's things that appear in the FOIA that may not appear in title, or vice versa. So
and title's not responsible for it, because it was
Right.
never recorded.
Because it was
You
never
are,
recorded,
as
right.
a buyer, just so everybody
Especially
knows.
with the city of Chicago, guys,
Yeah.
do a FOIA always. And there's like a special place
There's
that
an email address
that we
you-
send it, so we get a quick turnaround.
I have an example. I had a property where it was an auction property. The person was paying $5,000 for it, but it had $92,000 in debt.
Whoa.
And it was not liened against the property, so title would not cover it. Because like if they ended up leaning it after, because the deed would have already been recorded, and then say they lien it afterwards, we don't cover it. That would be all you. So it could stop your permits, it could stop everything, actually. So that's why the FOIA request that she does on all the properties, or I had actually South Holland one time, let's say, okay? She did do a FOIA request, and we did get the payment certificate, okay? But then after they actually issued the payment certificate, they said there was still debt owed. Well, luckily she got the FOIA request, because then it covered us, and they wiped that out. And I had 2 occasions like that.
Yeah, so it's very important to get that FOIA. And even I know like Keith, a lot of times he'll ask me to do a search before he even gets it under contract. Obviously we have that relationship, so we do, or to request the FOIA so he can know what to even get it under contract for. That's another thing that is really important, because especially when you're getting these like distressed type of properties, they could have a lot of liens on there that you don't even know. So, we do that, and we make sure that we keep your earnest money safe until we get that. Because if it comes out that it's not even a deal, because now it has like a water bill that's more than what you're gonna pay for it, you can get your earnest money back and walk away.
Okay.
Because there's also, I've had a lot recently where somebody will come to me and their taxes, and there's taxes from like 2008 or 2010. You gotta remember, on that tax amount, the city or the county charges 18% in Cook County per year. So you have to multiply it times all the years up to 2023 for each of the years that they're delinquent. So pretty much, the last couple of deals I've had, it was like $65,000 to $80,000 in taxes.
Whoa.
And so that killed the deal, because they were buying it for about 60.
Yeah.
So there wasn't enough money to even pay that off. So those are the kind of things that'll help you not waste your time, on the property. Also,
Or make a realistic offer.
yes, yeah. Also, in regards to the foreclosure, if you guys have something that's going to auction, don't just give up on the deal. Talk to Gina. There are ways to postpone.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted to say too, if you have somebody where somebody died recently, they don't necessarily have to go to probate. There's documentation that the title company has, where we'll send it to you, and you get, it's called an affidavit of heirship or a bond in lieu. They can fill out that documentation and we can tell you who should be signing the deed. Okay, so you don't necessarily have to give up on the deal either, and you know, say, oh, well, it's gotta go to probate and wait months. There's bond in lieu paperwork. But like I said, they have to fill out the paperwork correctly and say who all the heirs are, and then we'll let you know, and then we insure.
Only thing with the creative financing deals, especially the subject to, I personally will not work on the file unless the seller has representation. All other type of deals, I can represent both sides, or my firm can. You know, we create like a Chinese wall, and there'll be another attorney to represent the other side. But with subject twos, I cannot represent, my firm cannot represent both sides. The seller needs to have their own attorney. And that's to protect you and to protect me, because what'll happen is later on they'll change their mind and they'll say you took advantage, or you know,
Yes.
undue influence or fraud or whatever the case. And it just takes one hungry attorney to be like, yeah, I'll take that lawsuit, you know. So, you know, and there's a lot of those in Illinois. So I always say no, they gotta have their own representation. And this way, it's a clean deal. Everyone was represented. They can't come back and say that, oh, you know, Keith took advantage of me because, you know, no, you had an attorney. If your attorney didn't advise you, go to your attorney. You know, so make sure that, you know, they always advise them if you're doing a subject to have their own attorney. If it's a regular wholesale or anything else, we can help both sides.
Michelle mentioned something about foreclosure. Let's say if they have foreclosure and they're going to auction, will the contract still stop the foreclosure?
There's more
There's-
documentation that you need, but yes.
Yeah, we can.
What, you need extra documentations?
Yes, because it'll be currently at an attorney's office, so we pulled the recorded document, and then that attorney's office will be like, where's your authorization to go ahead to stop this, right? So she would need the authorization given to her so that she can request that the auction be stopped, and you need proof of funds.
Because remember, like, in order for us to stop it, we have to represent the seller.
Yeah,
Because the buyer can't stop it. You have no standing, right? But if you give me a contract and it's a reasonable contract, now, if like there's a deficiency of 300,000, you're giving me a contract for 50,000, they're gonna tell me a lot of colorful things where to go when I present it. But if they owe 100,000, you're giving me a contract for 60, then, you know, we can deal with it, and then the seller needs to give me authorization to stop it for her or him. Because I can't, you're just a buyer, you don't have any standing.
Yeah, because a lot of times I know some people, they'll pay the rearage and then they end up,
they pay what?
they pay the rearage of
Really?
the
To stop an auction?
Oh, arrears.
Oh,
rearage of the foreclosure,
Oh.
they get burned too.
yeah,
Oh,
please
yeah.
don't.
Don't,
Yeah.
yeah.
A lot of people-
Yeah.
Sorry.
There's a way to do it.
Please don't, yeah.
So
do
that your outcome is, you know, they just go and pay.
I
it.
have seen that. I've seen it. Yes. Yes.
And 9 out of 10 times, we just have to talk to the attorneys that are handling the foreclosure.
Not only that, I have seen one recently where they did pay their arrears, and then not only that, they only got one of the heirs to sign a deed. So the property's really not theirs.
Right.
They'll find out about it soon. But there's 4 other heirs, and no title company will touch that. Because actually, the person who signed, it's in a land, not like that, it was in a land trust. And whenever something's in a land trust, that means that the land trust has to sign. You can't individually sign as a beneficiary. There were, you know, several beneficiaries, and all 5 beneficiaries have to sign a document, and then it goes to the land trust, and then the land trust signs a deed. So if you guys are buying a property and you just want a quick claim deed from somebody because you don't want to go through title or go through an attorney, be careful, because they may not even be the person that can sell this property.
Absolutely.
And then now you gave up money and you're out.
Yes.
You know, so yeah, we had that. We had another one too where the person, they got a quick claim deed, and then actually some of the quick claim deeds weren't even recorded properly, so he wasn't even vested in title, and then he ended up taking subject to taxes that he didn't even know about because he was like, oh, you know, thinking it was a great deal, and he didn't do the proper search.
Yeah.
So we cleaned it up for him, for the person who ended up, because it was for the buyer, so she ended up getting the end buyer, and then we had to clean up everything.
Wow.
And he ended up paying more money.
And it was, and
And
he was
he
so
would have
sad.
paid if
Yeah.
he would have just gotten an attorney from the beginning. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm not cheap either, you know, so I'm like, you want me to clean up your mess because you didn't want to hire me at the
Right.
beginning? What's gonna cost you? You
Yeah.
know, like, I'm not Mother Teresa, like, I'm not for free, you know?
Well, and it was like, luckily, I ended up knowing, because it was a tax deed too, so there was a tax deed sale. So, and then the tax buyer sold it to somebody, that sold it to somebody else, and then that person sold it to him. So, two of the deeds weren't recorded, and luckily I knew the tax buyer's attorney, or, you know, and so I reached out to them, and then they sent me the deed. You know, so.
It was a mess.
And it was like,
Yes,
but
yes.
luckily we knew some people involved in the transaction, otherwise it would have been a little bit of a, yeah, to try to get that documentation.
And another piece of advice for you guys, and especially for newer people, seasoned people usually know this, but don't ever give earnest money to a person.
Oh, no.
Can
You
you
know,
repeat that, please?
Don't ever give earnest money to a person. Earnest money goes to an escrow account,
Escrow.
whether it's the realtor's escrow account, and if it's the realtor's escrow account, it's not gonna be in their name. It's gonna be in the real estate company's name.
Yes.
Whether it's the attorney's escrow account, if it's the attorney's escrow account, it's not gonna go to the attorney's name. It's gonna go to their law firm name
Yeah.
Correct.
or the title company.
Right.
Don't ever, I literally had someone on Thursday said, oh yeah, he sends me a contract, he's like, I want you to review it before I sign it, and the contract said to sell the seller $2,500. It literally said, sell the seller $2,500, and then if for whatever reason, the contract didn't close, then the seller would, it wasn't 25, it was 6,000. The seller would then give my client a promissory note and pay him that in payments. And so I literally screenshotted it.
I've never seen that one
I
before.
screenshotted it like when I was reading it, and I texted back to him and I said, "Did you read this?" He's like, "No, I'm reading it right now." I'm like, "So you're basically gonna be the lender?" And I'm like, "This sounds to me like somebody needs $6,000. They're
Yeah.
trying to give you a contract, you know, and then they're saying, if we don't close it, I'm gonna pay you back, but I'll give you a promissory note and pay you back in payments." And he's like, I didn't see that. I'm like, thank God you didn't do it, you know? So like, that's why it stuck out in my mind. Don't ever sell payments.
Yeah.
you know?
And somebody who has an escrow account, they cannot use the money. They have special requirements, you know, that they have to
Yeah,
abide by. So that's why we say put in an escrow account.
yeah.
That's right. You spoke on land trust, and I was told that as an investor, that it's good to do land trust for properties that I would buy. What do you say about that?
I mean, so with land trust, it just depends if you want the anonymity. That's what, you know, and there could be different things that maybe, I really can't give advice on it, but you have, like, I don't know if there's any kind of tax breaks or anything like that. I don't think so. Or it could be because you want to name people to leave, you know, your properties to, like beneficiaries. But a lot of times what I see investors doing is for the anonymity of it. So, because it's anonymous. So, because it's anonymous when you are purchasing and then you're buying it and it's going into a land trust. Now, there are fees associated with it. When it goes in, there's a fee. When it goes out, there's a fee. And there's a fee to start it up. Because you got to get an attorney to create the trust. Because there's a good trust company that I know, that it connected Gina with. And so Gina does know how to do it. But you have to create the trust. Then it goes over to the trustee of the land trust. And then they'll create it for you. But it just kind of depends on, you know, what reasons you're doing it.
I think it's a good idea to do them when you're doing subject to deals, because I've never had the due and sale clause, you know, for anybody I've worked with that I know of come due. So, you know, I don't even like to threaten with that, but it is a thing. You know, there is a thing called the due and sale clause.
Yes, it's all.
And if for whatever reason, you know, the bank has nothing better to do but then start researching your property and they find out that the seller actually sold it to you, they can have the due and sale clause, you know.
Or if you end up being delinquent.
But if you put it under a trust, when they see that the title's not vested in the trust, 9 out of 10 times they're gonna be like, oh, my client just basically got their estate matters in order. They're not really gonna think much of it. So that's another, you know, the trust gives you that extra protection. So I always say if you're gonna do a subject to and you're gonna do a subject to that's gonna go for more years than it should, then you probably wanna do that so that you don't, you know, let more protection on the due and sale clause.
And then when you were talking about the foreclosure, and you were gonna do subject to, just remember, when you're doing a subject to and it's in foreclosure, you have to get a reinstatement, and it does have to be paid and reinstated. We won't close it unless the actual loan is current and reinstated. So it does have to be paid at closing.
So what is that has to be paid to close?
Reinstatement, so like, I'm just gonna give
The
basic
one we
numbers.
just-
If it was like $100,000 loan, let's just say it's $100,000 balance. If they say that it costs $12,000 to bring it current through the current date of the closing, then that's the amount you have to pay.
So you're taking the balance subject to minus the reinstatement, because the reinstatement needs to be paid at closing.
And that could be the funds that, and that really is the funds that you'd be bringing to closing too, because you're taking subject to the mortgage. So it's fees and the reinstatement amount. Because unless you already worked out with your seller that they were paying that, but I doubt that that's, you know, it depends on how you worked up the contract. I doubt a seller's gonna
Pay a
do that and
reinstatement.
then, right, they either want something out of it, they're not gonna pay you to, you know. That's, otherwise they would've paid it already and kept
And all
it.
that will be disclosed money before you, right?
No,
You
it's a
need to-
mortgage.
It's a
Yeah.
mortgage.
So you would have to, that's where you guys rely on the seller to say, do you have your current mortgage statement? Do you have any kind of documentation from the mortgage company? You know, that's for you guys. And yes, a title company cannot find out how much is remaining balances. I can find out the original lien. I do not know what's remaining on a mortgage. I get that question a lot.
Yeah.
What is mortgage charge for reinstatement fees? 300, 400?
No, it's not that. It's that all that. So, like for her example, the person didn't pay since June of 2023. So it's whatever payments were due from 2023 to current now. So that's what had to be, you know, paid current.
Reinstate. So the loan had to be reinstated.
Absolutely.
I mean, all the.
They don't charge for that. Do mortgage companies charge for that?
I don't know. I don't think. I'm not sure. I didn't look at what the fees were. I just, you know, paid it. So, and it's. I mean, you have to do it. So it's like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's not like you can negotiate those fees.
No.
Yeah. No.
They want their money.
Yeah, exactly, so. Yeah, because actually I had one where a deal was lost because the people wouldn't reduce the payoff and the seller didn't want to come in with money. It wasn't one of your files, but it was
Really?
somebody else's, yeah. And, yeah.
Wow.
But it was because they were waiting for the buyer to close and then it ended up the mortgage went up and it was just, you know, buyer didn't want to come up with any more money and seller didn't have any money, so didn't close. And guy lost his property
Wow.
because it went to auction like 10 days
If we
later.
have if we have enough time, we could try and do a short sale in those type of situations, but
Oh, see, and she
nine
would
out
know
of
that.
10 times, you know, it's right at the end. But we can always, you know, try and do a short sale if it works out. Any other questions? I want to tell you guys a little bit about the 3-day where I met Keith. I belong to a group, Andrew Holmes. I don't know if all of you, I know some of you already belong to it. And the 3 days going to happen February 16th, 17th, and 18th. It's coming up, and if you guys are interested in knowing, you know, how, you know, we got our knowledge and like everything that goes into it, and meeting some other private money lenders and other investors, other buyers, I advise you guys to come. It is 3 days of so much information. Like when I tell you that your head's gonna hurt with the information, it's gonna hurt. It's a lot of information, and I say that because a lot of times people will be like, come to my, you know, seminar, and they'll give you like just like the crisp, and then you know you gotta pay more if you want more. So I met my first private money lender there actually at the bus tour, because they do a bus tour on Saturday. So Friday is basically all about, you know, acquiring properties, and I do a VIP session on wholesaling at the end. Saturday, they do a bus tour in the morning, and then you come back and go over the numbers of the properties that you guys looked at, and they tell you how to calculate rehabs and how to do all that. And then on Sunday, it's all about the 257 cash flow for life model, which Pablo knows that one really well. And they introduce you to private money lenders and to hard money lenders, who kind of tell you what they look for when structuring a deal, so you can kind of, you know, kind of get an idea of, you know, what goes into it if you want to request a loan from a private money lender and or a hard money lender or a traditional loan, and they kind of tell you the pros and the cons. So I invite you all guys to come. This 3-day is going to be the last one where the prices are going to be the traditional prices that we usually charge for mastery. Starting July, which will be the next one, prices are going to go up. So I invite you guys all to come, and I was able to get a 30% discount if you guys want to sign up using my code, which she texted it to me because I forget. It's the promo code is DiazCase 2024. So if you guys go to 3daywithgina.com, if you go there and register, put in the promo code DiazCase 2024, and you'll get 30% off the tickets if you want to go. There's 3 levels. There's the online one, so if you're like, I can't be there all 3 days, you can do virtual. Then there's the regular one where you'll be there in person, and then there's the VIP one, which is the one I think you should do, because not only do you get a lunch, but it's not about the lunch. During lunch, you get to sit down with actual investors, people that are presenting, lenders, and you get to have kind of that one-on-one. So, and you're gonna get the 30% off, so definitely take advantage and, register for the VIP. Did you wanna say something?
Oh, yeah. How you guys doing? Good afternoon. My name is Pablo.
Diaz.
I know a lot of
Diaz.
Mr. Diaz. So guys, I know you got cameras here. So I'm glad to see a lot of you guys here. It's cold, it's Sunday, right? And you guys are here. So that tells me that you guys are like hungry to everybody, your mic here. Hungry to invest in real estate. And I'm pretty sure some of you guys are already doing big things. So I commend you guys on that. But if you guys are not doing big things yet, you guys are looking to get started, one key thing that I want to say that just came to mind when you were mentioning the 3-day was networking. The power of networking. You really don't know who you're going to meet in these events. So if you're really serious about investing and taking it to the next level, investing is really not a single man's dream, right? Or job, You could do it on your own, but it's going to take you very slow. Versus if you work with other people, you network, you don't know what they're going to know. They're probably going to help you out with something, right? So try to network with other people, learn what they do, introduce yourself to them. Hey, this is what I do. Mingle with them. It's all about creating relationship, guys. I started with Gina, and Gina actually knew me when I was like really, really trying to get started in real estate. My 2 Berwyn properties that I didn't know anything about real estate, right? Nothing. But I had the drive, and I didn't talk to anybody else that was investing. So I just went to a realtor and said, hey, I want to buy a house so I can invest. So he was like, oh, you know what, buy this one. I didn't know anything. I bought high instead of buying low, right? At the end of the day, these 2 properties were taken away from me, right? So I was looking back and I'm like, man, I did not network with anybody that was investing back then. So that was my failure, right? So now comparing it to today, now I really talk to everybody and anybody, right? I know my friend Sheila here, right? She's an investor as well. Byron, I kind of like really understood that this is not a solo man's game. It's like a partnership, or it'll be better if you can network with other people and pick their brains. So that's all I wanted to say, and I wanted to invite everybody else to the 3-day event, real estate with Andrew Holmes. You're going to get a bus tour, you're going to get a lot of knowledge, and you're going to be able to network with a lot of like-minded individuals. People that are already investing, or people that are just starting, just like yourself, so they're probably already doing big things. The point here is that you're going to be able to network, all right? So hopefully I get to see you guys there. Take advantage of it, and good luck investing. And thank you, ladies, for all that good information. All right.
Yeah, and to that, I just kind of want to touch on something. Be very careful with groups that you join that ask you to pay to join, because not every group is the same. So with Andrew Holmes' group, you pay one time. That's it. You get a deal, he's not going to charge you fees on top of that deal. It's not like, oh, you got this deal because of me, so now I need to be your partner. No, none of that. And like people that are doing that, I'm not going to name, but I think you guys know what I'm talking about. Absolutely no. That is not the way to grow. Okay, that is absolutely not the way to grow. That's called just being taken advantage of. That's what that is. So like it's greed, it's being taken advantage of, and it's just someone that's basically making money by preying on others. But hopefully you guys are smart enough and know enough that that's not the way you do a partnership. That's not the way, when you join a group, that's not the way to do it. If they start with like And look at your settlement statements, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Look at your settlement statements. 'Cause a lot of times what these people do is they get you the loan and they're taking a cut off of you, they're taking a cut off of the loan, and they're charging you for a membership. When that membership consists of stealing documentation and stealing information from other groups. So, you know, be very careful with that. You know, nothing makes me more mad than when that happens. And I've closed a few deals where I've seen that, and it's really disgusting. So, be very, very careful.
Can you represent me in the case?
I know somebody that can.
You know, I wanted to also add too, with the networking part of it, is that, because everybody here buys in Chicago, right? Yes. So, suburb, okay, suburbs, but still Chicago? or-
Chicagoland area.
Chicagoland.
But it's still Chicago, right? Okay, so Chicago's different than Oak Lawn, Orland Park, Cook County. So Chicago is Chicago, not Cook County. So I would just say that, like, because I don't know if you've ever bought a property where it has a violation case, or, you know, have you ever bought a property where you're taking subject to those things? It's just good to know, because we had a person that bought subject to a violation case and a permanent injunction. You gotta be careful with that
Yeah,
stuff.
now they're trying to sell it.
And
He said, well, the violation case was already taken care of. I helped him with the buy, and I said, well, what about the injunction? Oh, well, no, my architect said that it was taken care of. I didn't know your architect was an attorney. That case is still there, so he just lost the sale, and it's gonna take us 2 months to go back and take care of this
well, and
injunction.
not only that, if you did work and if you didn't contact to get your permits, now you're gonna actually, in that violation case, you're gonna get fined. And that's the other problem too, because maybe before you wouldn't have gotten fined, if you would have actually called and got the permits and did everything, because then they would have actually just dismissed the case, because they'll do that if you show them that you did the procedure. But now if you didn't do the procedure and then you go to them, in that violation case, it literally says they can fine you. And, you know, everybody needs money, so I'm sure City of Chicago will be happy to fine you, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But also just as far as like even permits and stuff, like I know I was hearing, you know, maybe it takes a month or 2 months or something like that to get permits. So that's the kind of stuff that you need to look at too for holding costs, or for when you're getting your loans and stuff too, as far as to account for all that when you are buying and structuring your deal too.
I'm gonna pass out this sheet if you guys can just put your name, phone number, and email, and then I'm also gonna email you guys some of my contracts and email you guys the information that I just passed out to you. So you guys
Thank you. Can you give the address for the 3-day again?
Yes, it's 3day with Gina, GINA.com. And then the code is Diaz, D-I-A-Z, case, C-A-S-E, 2024. And that's 30% off. Any other questions? I'll stick around for a bit as well, so if you guys have other questions.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for having me.
Okay,
I'm still in the way.
so we were supposed to have another speaker, but he didn't show up. I do have a couple of giveaways thanks to Gina and Desiree. So this is gonna be this is a memory thing. So for those of you that were actually listening to what Gina was saying as she went through how she got into where she's at now. What did Gina do that she found out, had she had known about in the past, she would have made a lot of money? What was she doing at that time?
Short sales.
No. It's
Study for Bob.
no.
She was using her own money and not networking.
Oh, she's
saving
saving
her money.
No, she was working somewhere doing something in particular, helping other people
Mortgage company.
that
She was
were,
a realtor.
Refinancing.
you on that right track. What's it called?
Foreclosure.
What's it called?
She said you on the right track.
What was it called? Yeah. It's something, it's called.
A mortgage originator.
No, that wasn't it.
She was studying for the bar.
No, she was studying for the bar.
Yeah, we know she was doing that, but she went and she was working somewhere else, but she was helping people that had fallen behind.
People that have
And there's
gone
a
into
name
foreclosure.
for what it's called.
Low modification.
You ain't supposed to answer. You can't get the gift. You the spouse. You can't get the gift. Okay, so let's move on to something else. So now, if you were really paying attention, they talked about this is something that you need to get to find out if there's anything on the property that's very important. Okay, she said it first. Okay, so come on up. Come on down.
I like this.
Home Depot, $25.
Hey, thank you, I need that. Thank you.
Okay, so now let me see what else can I, we have one more, since somebody took away the bag. That was a good one. Let me think. Do you have something to say while I'm thinking?
No, I won't let you pass that.
Okay.
I have something to say if you want.
Come on up and talk while I'm trying to think
I
of.
don't know about the
Yeah, you gonna come up.
Everybody, this is Michelle Walker. This is one of
Yes.
our premier investors in the group.
Yes. I just want to say, I've joined a lot of groups where I had to pay for it. So
Okay.
when Keith and Jessica put this together, and she said it was all about networking and not having to come out your pocket just to come out and network with people, I was like, this is what I'm really looking for, because every group that I went to, it was about paying them for information, paying them to go look at properties, to get even properties. So I just want to tell everybody here that this is a great thing. Don't swash on this. Let us get together and network and see what we can come up with, because it's some good people in this room and we can all work together. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Okay, so I just heard from the other person who was supposed to speak. It was never put on his calendar for some reason, but he said he may still be able to make it. I'm texting him to see if he can make it. Okay. I can't ask that one because that would eliminate that person. Okay. So, no, we're gonna do this right now. The first one that raised their hand, do not shout it out. Wait a minute. Where does Desiree work?
Oh,
I saw April's hand go first.
Come on down.
Come on down, you the next winner. Thank you very much.
I can get some trim,
some
Some drywall, okay. All right, Keith, come on up.
I'm asking for an internal investigation.
Okay, okay, so I did get a text from the inspection guy. He will be here in 30 minutes, so.
How much time we got?
It's 3:15 now, we got till 4:30.
Copy that.
Okay.
All right. I just want to say a few things before this guy gets here, and Michelle really kind of, thank you. She kind of went ahead of me on that one, because that's what I wanted to emphasize, that I really am passionate about this group. And for 3 reasons. One is the fact that we are kind of like a family. It's small, but we are definitely one who believes in helping each other. We get excited about helping each other. If someone has a situation that that they're struggling with, I can get on the phone and call Jessica. I can get on the phone and call Angelique. I can call Joanne or Michelle and say, hey, I have a situation. How can we work this out? And we've done it with each other across the table. We've even had lunch together and figured it out together. And that is so important. That is so important. And Brian and I, we've worked together before, and we've figured situations out. It is important that we bond and work together. I am passionate about this group. I really am. I've developed some fond friendships. You know, Freddie and I, we talk together for hours on the phone sometimes. Who else? Manuel. I just had lunch with Manuel the other day. He and I. Ray Johnson, who lives way up near the Wisconsin border. He and I are on a joint venture that we're about 96% complete on. It's a beautiful project in Lansing. Jessica is going to be our broker. Everything we do in this group, we try to keep it in-house. Everything from acquiring a property to construction to our newly found clean-out person.
So for those of you all that are not included in that group, if you could write down your name, your email address, and your phone number, we can add you to the group. You either give it to myself or to Keith, and we'll add you to the group. So every time something is going on with the group, it'll be in that WhatsApp group, and you'll see what's going on, like when we have our meetings, because we schedule our meetings on the third Sunday of every month. So once we finalize where it's going to be, we post it in that group so that everybody knows where we're going to be meeting on that particular day, weather permitting. Yes?
I can just do a copy.
Okay.
Yeah, so you have it.
Okay, no
Because I
problem.
already wrote down your email.
Great, and then I'll just add the people that haven't been added to the group. And if there's somebody that you want to bring to speak, we're more than happy to listen to what other people have to say. When we started, we just networked. The first time we just basically networked and got to know each other and everything. Then we started having people that came and taught. We've had a realtor who specializes in helping the VA find a place to stay. She has spoken. We've had, who else do we have speak?
Frank Montrose.
Frank Montrose has spoken. We had other people.
Who else? Blake McCrae.
Oh yeah, we had a wholesaler, Blake McCrae, who's well known. He and his wife wholesaling, come and talk. So we try to get people to come in and talk. We've had contractors come in and talk. So we try to get people from all different aspects of the real estate business to come in and talk and share their experiences and the services they offer to help you out, because we don't want to have just one realtor in the group or one contractor, you know, and everybody's utilizing. We want to have a team of people, because nobody can handle everything all at the same time. So if you know somebody that's willing to come in and speak on their services and let us know what they're offering, we'll be more than happy to have them come on in and talk. Okay. That's all.
All right, thank you. Now, one last thing before I let everybody get together and start networking. You know, one of the things that Pablo, who I've been knowing since, you know, I was bugging him and Gina when I first started coming. There was 3 of us. I was bugging the heck out of them. I was networking, and I got to know them real well. And Farah, I got to know them because they were very important in helping me build my real estate career. They were really, you know, pivotal in helping me. And they didn't push me away. They really said, okay, if you need something, we'll help you. And I was really, really impressed with that. You know, with their welcoming, and they embraced me. But what I wanted to emphasize is that her as an attorney, you can have an attorney that can come to a closing and just shove papers at you and tell you to sign this. You know, they're not concerned about whether or not, you know, you're going to be doing business with them or not. Just do this, let me get out of here, and we'll be on our way. With Gina, and with Pablo and with Desiree, they have brought, I brought situations to them that were, we want to call them challenged or challenging situations. But they took me, they sat down, they explained things to me and say, this is how we're going to do this. And they turned a problem situation into a deal, and it closed. It closed. They took challenging situations and closed them. I was very impressed with their ability to take a challenging situation and tunnel through it. They really do a masterful job at that. I'm impressed with them. So my final thing on that is you can have an attorney who can get something closed, but these are investors. They know what it takes to get a deal done and go through a challenging situation. So that's what I'm trying to say. If you're going to have an attorney who has, just ask them a question, how many properties do you own? If they don't own any properties, that might not be your best attorney. Because I believe she owns about very many properties. That's what impressed me as an attorney, and I believe Pablo's a broker too, isn't he?
Yes, and a GC.
And a GC. Oh, that's the second thing about Pablo. Pablo's a GC, investor and a broker. So when I met him, I hit the trifecta. So I was very, very impressed with him.
Something we all can do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so networking is the key. And for this 3-day that they were mentioning, I really, really implore you guys to, if you don't do nothing else but check it out, you will get, a plethora of information, overload of information that is useful. If you take something away from it, fine, because I took a lot away. And one of the best things I took away was Pablo and Gina and Desiree. So with that,
Call up the title company, call up your attorney, get the proper phone number, and then verify the information, and then you can send a wire. Just be careful. There's always fraud out here, and people like to take advantage and get money the easy way, so just don't give it to them. Use the phone, okay? We like to just use emails now. Use the phone, pick up the phone, okay, and call. And just get your realtor, whoever your realtor is, they'll have the phone number for the title company or your attorney, but then verbally verify it, okay? And then my other thing too, I wanted to ask, does anybody, for construction work, do you guys ever use waivers?
Lien waivers, yes.
Okay, all
course.
right. Well, not everybody does. So that's why, before you ever make a final payment, make sure you guys get final lien waivers and stuff too. It's real
Absolutely.
important. I've heard of some recent situations so that's why I wanted to bring it up.
thank you. One other thing that I want to mention, I'm going to hurry up, and we're going to try to ask everybody to introduce themselves. Gina, Pablo, and Desiree, and even Frank, I've called them at some of the most oddest hours of the day or night. And as an attorney, some attorneys, most attorneys you're going to be challenged with trying to reach them. But with them, I've been able to reach out to them Sundays, Saturdays, after 6 o'clock, after 7 o'clock, and they're picking up the phone. They're saying, okay, Keith, we're working on it. Okay, Keith, what do you need? And that's a rare thing for an attorney to be able to work with you at odd hours, not just 9 to 5. And I'm impressed with that. That lets you know, or let me know, that these guys are in tune with who I am and what I'm trying to do. Now, with that being said, the young lady in front asked that we go around and introduce ourselves. I want to be the first one, then I'll turn it over to her.
Oh, you can make me say.
Let me start first. My name is Keith Elsie. I am the president and chief executive officer for Kima Real Estate Investments, LLC. And my primary job is as an investor, wholesaler, and foreclosure prevention specialist. I love real estate and I love this group. With that being said, I'll turn it over to her.
Oh, hi everybody. My name is Marcia. It's my first time here. I used to be an investor years and years ago, back in 2008, 2009. If you guys were doing business back then, you know we all lost everything.
Oh, yeah.
And ever since then, I have been having my first walkthrough. If you want, just ask me for a card, and you can email me your information, and I'll let you know the exact day. It'll be in about another week and a half, something like that. I finally have it empty, so that I can clean it up and have a walkthrough. But I've totally gutted the place, rehabbed it, and am on several sites, and I'll be sharing that info. Just as this meeting here, I'm just meeting some friends and trying to network and help people learn how to do this, and at the same time get info from them so that we can all be successful. There's enough money and properties out here for everybody. And it's just about networking. So I had some people express an interest to me in wanting to, how do you do an Airbnb? So I said, okay, it's finally empty. I'll let people just see what I've done and what I'm doing, and I'm just gonna, it'll just be a quick hour thing. Just share what I've done and what I'm doing, and let you see what, you know, how it looks and what people are asking for and that kind of thing.
Where's the Airbnb?
Oh, it's in what?
I'm like this because it's so much knowledge and it's so much in the network. We come from a place where everybody was talking about people taking money from you. This is the first time I ever walked in the room and somebody walked me in the room and said, "This my friend Deidre. She need $150,000. You got it." I'm not kidding. In that room of network.
And didn't charge you.
And didn't charge me for it.
Okay, we have three more people. If you could do a brief introduction, because our speaker is here finally for On Target.
So my name is Joanne Williams. I'm a former federal employee. I retired after 39 years of service, and I started investing in 2018. It was kind of slow, but finally I got my first flip, and then I did some rentals. Now I'm working on a flip in South Holland and a rental in Park Forest. And I love this group. So you don't ask for money.
Awesome group. Hi, I'm Frank Montreux. The sign outside said book club. I thought I was going to talk about a romance. Seriously though, yeah, I've been in business for 40 years. Realtor, specialized in investors, do hundreds of transactions a year, specializing in off-market wholesale properties and helping with the entire investment process. I have 40 years of experience as far as reading value. Just for one example, you know, you can run all the comps you want to and get the bank value. There's what I call the customer value, and that is what a buyer will actually pay. And that's influenced by a lot of other things in the area that you can't see just by looking at the X's and O's. So there's a bank value, which is fine, which will get you a loan. But if the customer value does not match up with that, then you're going to be in a heap of trouble, Jethro, because when that comes to sell, it might be worth $50,000 less, and then there goes all the fun. There goes all, you know, your profit margin. So I love what everybody says in this room about learning and stuff. I'm a firm believer of learning. I'm on the internet every day. I'm either reading something or watching a YouTube on crack. I mean, whatever it is, YouTube's like crack. I mean, it's, yeah. I mean, there's just everything about anything is on YouTube, from God to you know, flipping houses. Thanks, Pablo. So that's it. Yeah. I'm out.
Hi everyone, my name is Natalie Aguilera. I also work with Frank Montreux Homes team, and yeah, he invited me to the event, and I appreciate you guys having me here.
Thank you. So with that being said, we have Joe. I'm just say Joe Z. From On Target Home Inspections. I use him a lot because he's just very thorough at what he does. They offer services from home inspections, and then they do sewer scopes and everything. So what he's gonna do is talk about what his company offers and how important it is to get a home inspection when you're purchasing your property. Okay?
Hello? You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Never used to clip on mic before, sorry. Okay, so except for Frank Montreux, because I know you've done like 1,000 deals, has any of you guys, are you doing flips and rentals and things right now? Like show of hands, everybody got some deals going on? Okay, so in the course of doing any of those deals, have you ever run across anything after the fact that surprised you so much that it cost you a whole bunch of your profit at the end of the deal?
I always get a home inspection.
Is that a trick question?
Can I testify?
Yes and yes.
No, I want to hear your war stories too, but that's something where a good home inspector can help you guys out. Like I know a lot of times investors don't think about getting a home inspection because they're like, I've done this like 20 times, 50 times, 100 times. What do I need that for? Or I'll just walk through with my contractor. But I can tell you right now, the contractor and the home inspector are two very different sets of eyes. We're looking at that house very differently. The contractor's thinking, what can I build? How can I fix? What can we change? The home inspector's looking at what's wrong with this place, what's going to go wrong with this place, and what's going to blow up their deal. So contractor's a very important set of eyes to have, but it's not the whole picture necessarily. If you're just looking at a place thinking, do I want to make an offer, or I'm figuring out the scope of my rehab, or whatever the case may be. What would you say, like, some of you guys that have had that happen, like what is the worst thing that you've come across that's just screwed your deal entirely?
It did screw. I had termites. I didn't know I had.
Okay. And those don't have to be a big deal, but they can also be super expensive. It depends.
Last was the sewage. I had to change it all the way from the street all the way into the
Oh, the
house.
sewer line?
Yes.
Oh, man. What was it, about 10 or 15?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully you still made some money.
Yeah, I made a little money, but
Not as much as you wanted, though, right?
no, I had to turn it into a rental instead of flip.
Mm-hmm. I would say, like, just right off the bat, because I've probably done, like, around 6,000 professional inspections so far in my career. And I would say of those, maybe like 500 or 600 have been for investors like you guys. And I've done them on the A side, where you guys have hired me to come in and like I'm looking at the property for you. But then I've also done them on the B side, where I've seen like, okay, the property's already been flipped, and now I'm there for the buyer, making sure that the house is okay for them. So I've had the chance to see what they looked like before, and also what they look like after, and what tends to get missed a lot of times. And stuff that I've seen that has probably screwed the deals the most has been stuff in the attic and stuff in the crawl space. And I feel like I don't know if they didn't look up there, or like if they were just hoping I wasn't gonna look up there, but like it seems like kitchen, quartz countertop, beautiful. Freshly refinished cabinets, amazing. All new EVP flooring looks great, the whole house is painted. So like in the box, the house looks amazing. Up in the attic, we've got like no insulation. We got like raccoon poop over in the corner, and we got like mold growing up here. We got like a cracked rafter, and like in the crawl space, maybe we've got like standing water with an electric wire sitting in it, and we've got like a big crack in the foundation, and we've got termites over here eating up the sill plate, and whatever it is that they spent in the kitchen, they were going to spend also at least that much fixing this stuff up. And I feel like probably it's stuff that they didn't even account for because maybe they didn't look, maybe they didn't know what they were seeing or whatever, but I've seen that stuff in the 11th hour cost them $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, like maybe in price reduction or whatever, just to account for all that stuff. So I would say first thing, as you're looking at a house, make sure you're looking above in the attic, make sure you're looking below in the crawl space if there is one, especially the crawl space. Because I know like that's the place nobody wants to go because it's gross and it's hard to get around, but would you do it for $15,000? I'd do it for a lot less every day. I would do it for $15,000. But yeah, I mean, and that's stuff that you can just do all by yourself. And I would say on the outside, I see a lot of times too, again, $20,000 on the kitchen, beautiful. The roof's about falling off the house. You know what I'm saying? Like, on a flip, that's probably not really gonna pass too often, right? like I'm working on my first flip right now. I can't speak from experience on that. I can only speak from what people have told me. But that seems like a pretty important aspect of it, even just from a curb appeal standpoint, right? So that's something to consider too. Something that people don't always think to look for is grading and drainage. So like around the house on the outside, which way is the ground going? Which way is the concrete going? Is it going in towards the house where it's going to pull water in towards the foundation? Or is it going away from the house like it should where it's going to shed that water away? Like it seems like a trivial thing, but if you fast forward 5 or 10 or 20 years, it can become quite expensive to not have that proper grading around the house. Another thing that I've seen kill profit margins on a lot of flips, people don't think about trees. So trees don't have to be a big deal, but sometimes if they're this big around and they're like this close to the house, and you've got the roots growing into the foundation, you've got the branches hanging over the roof, like that's going to show up on a home inspection almost every single time because there's a lot of different things it can do to the house. It can damage the roof, it can damage the siding and the cladding, it can damage the foundation. And those things, if they're that big, can be anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000 to take down. And if you've got 3 or 4 of them, I don't know how much you normally make on a house, but that seems like a lot of it, right?
Yes.
Just for that. Like you could have done everything else right just for that. So that's a really important thing to look at too. There's certain stuff that like only an inspector would really know how to see, like certain like asbestos and certain kinds of electrical panels and things like that. So that's where it's handy to have us come through. I think we do like a walk and talk kind of a thing, right? So it's like it's not a full inspection, but we're just looking at the major stuff. And a lot of times we'll have you come with us because not only is it meant to be something that protects you and mitigates your risk as an investor, but if you're coming with us, it's also something that's going to make you better at what you do. It's going to make you better at looking at these houses. Because whether you've done 1 deal or you've done 100 deals, I can hopefully probably tell you something that you didn't already know. And a lot of good inspectors could do the same. And every time that happens, you're going to know one more thing to look for in a house that could save you money. So, oh, we don't have any dry erase markers, huh? I was hoping we did.
Sorry.
It's okay. I've got a presentation, like a PowerPoint presentation that I put together just specifically for investors. And it's got a list of like different kinds of shingles and how long they last and different kinds of electrical panels that you might look out for that you're going to have to replace and just stuff like that. So, Jessica, is there a way for me to get these people's emails if they want that?
Yeah, we have a list of everybody.
Okay.
And I'll get it to you.
Okay, I'll make sure Jenna sends it out to everybody on Monday.
Okay.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or anything that they just want to ask a home inspector?
So, as an investor, you know what our #1 worry is, right?
What's that?
How much it costs?
No. That's a good one. That's a good word.
No,
are you talking about the oh, I thought you were talking about the repairs.
No,
all right.
If we wanted to call you out to inspect our home, to give us the information, you look at it in one way, and then for us to call our contractor and we'll look at it another way, how much would we have to pay you for your service?
So let me put it in the perspective of like a normal home inspection. So if we're going and we're inspecting a house for a buyer, it's going to range anywhere from like $475 to like $540 probably. That's like average home inspection. For investors, if we're just doing like the walk and talk, those are more like between $300 and $375. And that's usually going to come with voice notes. It's going to come with hopefully you coming with us and learning a bunch of stuff. So we really try to make it worth your while. But we always find at least $300 worth of stuff.
Do you give documentation afterwards, or do you only give voice notes?
We give the voice notes. The whole point of this, because like, okay, so in Illinois, anybody here work for IDFPR? You do?
No, man,
Okay.
Realtor.
All right. Like in Illinois, we're not really supposed to do like walk and talks, right? So we just treat this as a consultation. So if I'm going to write a report, it's got to be in the context of a full home inspection per licensing law. So that's why we do the voice notes. I mean, if you need me to shoot you a couple of pictures, that's no problem. But as far as like writing down, like this is wrong and this is what we think and recommend, that we can't do for this.
You just only single family up to 4 units. 6, 4. You want to go to 4 units?
Oh no, no, we do commercial too.
You do commercial, okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you have industrial warehouses, anything, we do it all.
Okay.
And I heard one person talking about the sewer line.
I was just telling, because one time for me, you did the inspection, the sewer scope, and the whole.
Okay. Yeah, the sewer line. Well, somebody was saying that they had to replace the sewer line. That was you, right? Yeah, I thought so. So that's something else that we do.
So
Is
you saw that beforehand?
Oh yeah, yeah. So Frank.
I was gonna say, since you brought up the sewer line, keep you bringing up trees. I mean, one of the biggest problems we've seen over the years, if we see trees in the ground, we're concerned that the sewer line's been compromised.
Yeah, no, that's a big tell for us. Like, if we see big trees in the front yard, or if you guys also, if you're looking at a house and you see like a PVC clean out somewhere, not real close to the house, but maybe like 5, 10, 15 feet away from the house, that usually means one of two things. It either means that a part of that line's already been replaced because there was an issue of some kind, or it means that there's a recurring issue like root intrusion that has to be constantly cleaned out. So just something to be aware of.
Yeah, see, the branches grew into the sewer line, and that broke up a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like sometimes it'll just obstruct it, but sometimes there'll be so many branches growing in that it just collapses that whole thing. And that gets real expensive. And whatever is in that water, I don't know what it is, it's gross to us, but it's nutritious to the trees, so like they fight to get to that water. But yeah, we'll run a camera down there, like a fiber optic camera from the clean out all the way to the city sewer, and you'll get to see, is there root intrusion? Is there a collapsed part of the pipe? Is there an obstruction already that's blocking stuff that's eventually going to back up into the house? Because that's not something you want to be surprised with in the 11th hour. Because they're like when you're flipping a house, their inspector might do that, and then they'll catch it then, and then they'll come to you and be like, all right, well, I'm gonna need you to fix this or reduce the price or whatever before I buy it.
Right.
And you'll end up losing, you know? And that's something that for a couple $100 we can just get in there and see. And that you would get a video, you would get a report with pictures, and that would be enough for any plumber to be able to look at that and say, it's probably gonna be about this much, and you know what I mean? Like you can get an idea at least.
Is that a part of your normal home inspection, or that's an additional charge?
It's an additional service, because not everybody wants it, you know? So it's there if people want it. We do inspections, sewer scopes, we do radon testing, we do mold testing. As of probably about a week ago, we just added level 1 chimney inspections too. So if anybody's got like a brick fireplace chimney or anything that you're not too sure about, we can send a camera up there as well and look at, you know, like attachments and connections, condition of the brick, liners, that kind of stuff. So pretty much anything you want to know about a property, we've got a way to find out and tell you. And as far as just walking through the property with us, like I'm going to send all you guys that want it that presentation, just so that you can see like at a quick glance just a whole bunch of different stuff to look for. But walking through a property with us, even just a couple of times, you'll be amazed at how much better you are at what you do. And just being able to find that stuff, I feel like it protects your bottom line, and it kind of makes your business more stable. You know, because I feel like up until a certain point in your flipping career, like you're probably always wondering to yourself, at some point in the process, man, what did I miss? What's going to blow up in my face? What's going to cost me money, right?
Yeah.
So,
Just also from I know there's some agents in here, from your perspective, if you have those, you can wear those pair of glasses and walk through, just imagine the protection you have for your clients, and you bring it up and you become a superhero, and you continue to get referrals versus get blacklisted by them.
that's a great point, Frank. It does make you much more valuable as an agent, especially if you're working with investors. To be able to walk through these properties and be like, all right, you can expect this and you can expect this, and they're going to be like, wow, that was great.
Or even end buyers too. So,
yeah.
I mean, not just investors, but yeah, you're just bringing excessive value to whatever client base you're dealing with, whether it's an investor or a homeowner.
Absolutely. And we do, like, once a quarter, we do a free training. We say it's for new realtors, but really anybody can come. We pre-inspect a vacant house. We produce a report for it, and then after we do that, we'll take whoever wants to come through it, and we'll show them the process. Like, here's what we were looking for, here's the tools we were using, here's why we do it. And then you guys just get a better idea not only of the process, but also you're kind of being able to see through our eyes a little bit too. So yeah, if you're an agent, it makes you tremendously valuable to your clients to know that stuff. It's like there's a lot of times where we've done inspections, especially for first-time home buyers that don't know what they're looking at. And we'll get halfway through the inspection and they'll almost have like tears in their eyes. They'll be like, oh, you just gotta stop. And it's like, then you paid us this money, you took a half a day off of work or whatever. if you guys can point that out to them ahead of time, tremendously valuable. It saves them the time, saves them the money, then they only call us when they really need us, you know?
Yeah.
So, does anybody have any questions that I can answer for you outside of our services, but I mean just stuff that you've run into or house stuff that you want to know about? Has anybody ever run into vermiculite before? Vermiculite's a type of insulation. It looks like little spongy gold nuggets about like this. Sometimes you'll see it in a fireplace too.
Oh, yeah.
But
I haven't run into that, but I know what you're talking about.
this is in that presentation I was talking about. So vermiculite is a type of insulation. It's a mineral, right? So like it's mined out of a mine. And it was they don't do it anymore, but it was mined in Libby, Montana, back in the 50s and 60s. And it was mined right next to a mine where they were mining asbestos. Because back then, asbestos was a great idea, and nobody knew that it wasn't a great idea. So because they were mined so close together, there was a lot of cross-contamination. And now, I still come across some attics that have it, and especially houses like from the 50s and the 60s. And the EPA says to treat all that stuff like it has asbestos in it because there's really no way to know. Like even if I took samples from 4 corners of the attic and they all tested great, the stuff in the middle could have it. Like you just never know. So that's another reason to look in the attic. If you ever see that stuff, the only way to fix it really is to have it sucked out by like an environmental insulation company and then replaced. So it's got to be like remediated. And that gets really, really expensive. So one pro tip, besides looking in the attic to find it in the first place, is Zonolite, who is the name of the company that made that stuff, Zonolite. They have a fund that they set up, it's like a trust fund, to kind of help correct their mistake, I guess. So anybody that finds that stuff in their attic, they can call them. It's Zonolite. I'm going to look it up right now so I can give it to you guys. Yeah, like that's how serious that was. They set up a fund.
Right, yeah.
So it's Zonolite Attic Insulation Trust. And like if we find it in a house, like it's actually embedded in the comment to go right to the online claim form. But it's zonoliteatticinsulation.com. So if you guys ever run into that, that one tip is going to probably save you $3,000 to $5,000.
So normally, so they're always in the attic.
Yeah. Yep, because it's just the insulation that they would use at the time, you know. Asbestos is a great insulator. So was vermiculite. But it just turns out that it does bad stuff to you too, and now we know. But yeah, vermiculite is the name of the installation if you guys want to look it up just to see what it looks like.
You said promiculite?
Vermiculite. Like vermin.
They had a whole
Vermiculite.
special out on TV recently.
Did they?
But they shut the entire town down.
Mm-hmm.
Because they produced it there, and the air quality and everything was so bad, the government evacuated the entire town.
Libby,
There's like
Montana,
a
right?
couple people left. What's that?
Libby, Montana?
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's a couple people still there, and they're dying. You know, it seems like it's way worse than asbestos, because it gets real airborne.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta check that out actually.
That stuff, yeah. Look it up, check out TV.
You gonna pass out business cards?
Yep.
I'm gonna need one for sure.
I got you. Yeah, I wanted to make sure everybody had questions answered and stuff before I started passing out my cards.
Have you ever ran across that?
Oh yeah.
You have?
I don't see it too often. Like I probably myself do anywhere between 300 and 400 inspections a year, and maybe I'll see it 10 times a year.
In Chicago or in
Mostly in Chicago.
Chicago.
Was a certain age house?
I would say probably anywhere from 50s to 70s would be common. Because like after a certain amount of time, they just stopped using it. You know, they stopped producing it because they found out it was dangerous.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Let me get the mic from you, Joe.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot I had this thing.
Thank you, Joe. I had Joe come because the first time I met Joe, I was working, well, I went to a house for another investor who couldn't make it there. And I had been through previous inspections, and I was like, okay, I got about 30 minutes of my day. I can go ahead and sit here for this inspection. When I tell you Joe does a thorough job, I was there for like 2 hours or so of him inspecting this house. And when I say he got down and dirty, he went and put on his little white suit and went up into the underneath the crawl space, and I was like, okay, it started at 10, it's now 12:30. I got somewhere to be at 1 o'clock. Are you almost finished? He was like, yeah, I just got to do the roof. You can go ahead or whatever. I'm like, okay. So when I say he does a thorough job, he does a thorough job. And he has done, ever since then, I have not used any other home inspector on any project. Anybody that asks me about home inspections, I always refer Joe and On Target because they're just thorough. It stopped me from doing a deal because I also got a sewer scope done at the same time. And when he did the sewer scope, he couldn't go all the way through. It was bumping into a pipe, like the pipe was offline. So I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't want to be bothered with that. I might have to, because it was underground. The pipe was underground. So I'm like, I might have to dig that up, you know. So that deal didn't go through. So it may behoove you, like he said, like if there's trees or something else going on, to pay that extra money to get the sewer scope and see what's going on within those pipes. It's worth it to spend $300 or whatever it costs, I can't remember, as opposed to spending $5,000 or $6,000 to have that work done. Because remember, you can always take your inspection and go back and negotiate your price that you're purchasing the property for. That's the whole point of getting a home inspection. It can be used as a negotiating tool. So I really appreciate Joe coming out and providing us with the information and the services that he uses. So just thank you again, Joe. Thank
No, I just want to thank again everybody for coming out. I want to thank our presenters and our special guests. You know, and I want to thank my mentor for coming out.
Get over here in the camera.
Oh, I'm sorry. I want to thank my mentor, Frank Montreux, for coming out because he's brought me in my long way as well.
Say what?
Can I ask you a question? I'm looking at your hoodie.
Yes.
Is it like opposite day or something?
No, it's not opposite day.
You got it.
All right, again, thank you guys for coming out, and we really appreciate it. And did everybody get any valuable information today? Oh, yeah.
That is exactly what we're here for, to like you say, network. We cannot do this by ourselves. Like somebody, I think Joanne said she started in 2018. I bought properties in 2018 and just sat on them because I didn't know what else to do. I know I got them dirt cheap, but it was like, okay, now what do I do? You know, so it helps when you know other people that can help you along in the process and provide information, and they're not going to take you to the bank. Okay, so that's what we're here for, to network with each other, where we can say, hey, you know what, I got a question, can you help me out? Can you do this, you know? And we're not going to say, okay, yeah, I can do it, but it's going to cost you. No, that's not what we're here for. We're here to elevate and bring each other up and provide valuable information and assist each other along the way. So I'm glad you all got something out of it. And our next meeting, for those who are not added to the list, we will add you to the list. And our next meeting will be, of course, I believe the third Sunday in February. If it doesn't mess up with anything else. I don't think that it should, but
Super Bowl second week.
You
What do you
cannot
say?
do it on Super Bowl Sunday, that's just not.
Right, that's why I'm like, let me just check. Okay, so the third Sunday in February is the 18th. That's not Super Bowl Sunday, is it?
No, that's my birthday, that's definitely a holiday.
But you just be here. All right, thank you. So we have to be out within the next 15 minutes.
So if you guys
all
don't mind helping us, with the housekeeping, 'cause we gotta be out in 15.
Yeah, if you all want to take some food, there's some to-go boxes. Take what you want,
As much as you.
much as you want, and just make sure you throw your stuff in the garbage.
I'm gonna edit this and put a link in it and put a link in the
And then what's that?
in the chat. Yeah.
Copy that.
All right. Let's see how this first recording turn out.